The seesaw needs balancing, you know. Let's have 2 close games on one side of the seesaw and 2 blowouts on the other side of it. Perfectly balanced. As all things should be. That said, someone needs to send a memo to Tampa and Ottawa that the purpose of a rivalry is for it to be competitive. At least the Bolts beat the Panthers in the playoff series before. The Sens need to wake up out of their sleep. But what's that reserved for the Golden Knights and Jets? This game was much more physical and much more low scoring than the blowout that was Game 1. But in the end, it did not end up a 3-2 overtime win for the Panthers. The name of the game was the pre-existing bad blood between these two franchises. While the penalty minutes were not as high as in the Battle of Ontario, 31 penalty minutes were handed out between both teams, and it easily could have been a lot more. The common saying is, you're not screwed in a best-of-7 series until you lose at home. Well, the Lightning dropped both of their opening 2 games at home. So now, they need a miracle. The good news for the Bolts is that they fared better on the goal differential. The bad news, they were still on the losing end. In fact, they got blanked. Neither goaltender had to do a lot, but Sergei Bobrovsky and the Panthers penalty kill stole this game. The power play shown in Game 1. Now it's a PK's time to shine. It was a perfect 5-for-5 effort against one of the best power plays of the regular season. And it says a lot that they killed all 5 penalties against a power play group that comprised of Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Brandon Hagel, Victor Hedman, and Jake Gensel. Tampa's shorthanded unit came out with a 3-for-3 outing, and that included a 5-minute major in the third period. We'll get to that later because the Bolts wanted a fast start. Florida had their plans. Carter Verhaeghe went on a breakaway, but Andrei Vasilevsky is elite at stopping breakaways. But here's Braden Point on a point-blank attempt, no pun intended, at the goal mouth, but he missed it high and wide left. That was the closest they were to scoring early. Though Vasilevsky is normally elite, he had to have that shot from Nate Schmidt off the set piece. Offenses don't face off win, they work it back to Schmidt, and he blasts a one-timer past Vasi's blocker. All of a sudden in the playoffs, he's turned into the second coming of Nicholas Lidstrom. He also ties the record for most goals by a defenseman through 2 playoff games, with Lidstrom, Steve Chason, Mike O'Connell, Dick Redmond, and George Boucher. And it's funny I brought up Lidstrom because Schmidt has joined him as the only 2 defensemen who scored a game winner in each of his team's first 2 games of the playoffs. But we don't know that yet, because the Lightning play with a lot more pace, of a dose of much-needed desperation to the offense. They were working getting the puck into the zone and putting up 5 high-danger chances. Bob is stopping everything the Bolts are throwing at him, and I wonder what his goals are for this year's playoffs. I think he may already have an answer. No goals. Not even in the Battle of Florida? No goals. What about title defense? No goals. He did back it up. Oh, second period long. He turned away some good looks at the net, including when Gensel found a speeding point down the middle. But at other times, the Bolts had trouble finishing. Gensel couldn't get a stick on the puck when he was wide open at the crease with Bob out the picture. They did have to cycle game around and held the Panthers defense on the ice for almost an entire 2-minute stretch at one time. But the Panthers continued forcing the Lightning back and away from the net. The Bolts PK remember how solid they were throughout the course of the regular season, and they even matched Florida's physicality. Florida's PK matched that when Tampa went on the power play, and once again gave the Lightning no space at the front and forced them to the outside. Then the temper started to amp up because it came to a boiling point when Hagel laid out a shoulder-to-chest hit on Alexander Barkov with the Bolts on the power play. The puck was nowhere near the plate, and Barkov was dazed after the hit. Though managed to skate under his own power, but he did not return to the game. Hagel got a 5-minute major, but was not assessed a game misconduct, and he was lucky to stay in the game, because that was not a good hit at all. Barkov did not have control of the puck, and Hagel laid a high hit towards his head. That's a textbook suspension-worthy hit. There were several looks for the Lightning by the end of the game as he killed off the 5-minute penalty. John Cooper decided not to pull Andrei Vasilevsky until there were under 3 minutes on the clock. There were 2 looks at the end of the game. One by JJ Motion for the left circle, and the other being a swing and a miss by Eric Chernak at the front of the net with Bobrovsky out position on the scramble, and the Panthers iced it with Sam Bennett. Bob nets his 4th career playoff shutout at 36 years old, all since the 2023 Miracle Run. He stopped all 19 Bolt shots, and while it isn't a lot, he was superb when he was counted on. Florida also blocked 20 Bolt shots, which accounted for under 1/3 the 61 shot attempts Tampa had through 2 games. They allowed just 6 shots on goal while playing down a man, and killed 7 of 8. In a series that is as tight as the Battle of Florida, the message continues to be clear. Defense wins championships. Even when they played the final 10:09 without Barkov. What's better for them is that they'll get Aaron Ekblad back from his 20-game suspension. We haven't even seen their final form yet. Good lord. Then put your little hand in mine There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb. I'm getting an alarming sense of deja vu. The Leafs beat the Sens in the 4 previous playoff series. 6 games in the 2000 Eastern Conference quarterfinals. Swept them in the following year's Eastern Conference quarterfinals. 7 games in the 2002 Eastern Conference semifinals. And 7 games again in the 2004 Eastern Conference quarterfinals. Which remains the last time the Leafs won a Game 7 in the playoffs. While the Leafs might not have to worry about a Game 7 unless the Sens make a miraculous comeback to tie the series up, like what the Oilers did last year against the Panthers. But given how the Sens are rolling, yeah, it's time to put them on life support. This game was supposed to be memorable for the fact that this was their first home playoff game since Game 6 of the 2017 Eastern Conference Final. It's also the first home playoff game for this current core of Sens players. The only players on Ottawa playoff experience are Claude Giroux, David Perron, Linus Ullmark, Nick Cousins, Adam Gaudette, Michael Amadio, Nick Jensen, and the sparingly used Travis Hamonic. Sens fans have waited 8 years for playoff hockey to return to Canada's capital. 21 for the Battle of Ontario to be once again featured in the playoffs. Yet for all the advantages in shot attempts, scoring chances, and high danger chance at 5-on-5 for 3 games, if they get one break, the narrative will be different. They had 6 of the game's first 7 shots. 1 break. 1 momentum to turn the tide. 1 spark that can help them get the monkeys off their backs. Claude Giroux gets Sens fans pumped up for playoff hockey, scoring on the 5-on-3 to give Ottawa their first lead of the entire series. 98 seconds into the middle frame, he rips a shot from the point with Anthony Stolarz getting double screened by Brady Tkachuk and Jake Sanderson. The second period was where the Sens dominate in Game 2, and once again that will be the same case in Game 3. Shots on the middle frame was 10-6 Ottawa, and in front of a packed and sold out Canadian Tire Center looking to see their first win at the playoffs since that Game 6 in 2017. They gave them the energy they needed. Alas, their lead will only last for almost 7 minutes. The Leafs counter with their own power play tally, with Matt Knies tying it up his path, deflecting off Shane Pinto's skate, and going over the goal line ever so slowly after William Nylander's shot was initially blocked by Artem Zub, and Knies wanted to find Austin Matthews for a one-timer to side the net. Emotions would toil over in an action-packed game, where defense was the name of the game. Not a lot of shooting opportunities, and they were few and far between as well. Toronto was 1 for 2 on the man advantage, and even with the power play goal, they're 5 for 9 in the series so far. They are scorching the Senators' penalty kill. And it took mere seconds for the Leafs to take the lead in the third. And it's Matthews getting his first of the series. The most dangerous thing to do is leave him all alone at open areas of the ice. After a lengthy puck battle, Brandon Carlo blasts a long shot for the point that goes wide, but Morgan Riley keeps it in the zone. Swung the puck around to Mitch Marner, who delivered a quick pass to Matthews at the low slot. Ullmark doesn't even see it. Bang! 2-1 Leafs. That apple was Marner's best highlight of the game. Though the playoffs are also about the little things. He threw his body in puck battles, broke up passes in high danger areas, was outstanding on defense. The Leafs' top power play unit is comprised solely of forwards: Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Knies, and John Tavares. And Marner's doing a good job operating the power play as their quarterback, and is having the series fans want to see from him. And Matthews is outplaying Brady Tkachuk throughout the series, scoring the first goal, chasing down pucks, breaking up scoring chances for the opposition, winning battles, and won 65% of his faceoffs throughout the contest. And Anthony Stolarz continues to be solid. Despite the question marks around him, he continues to answer the call. The goal he would love to have back was the game-tying goal from Tkachuk, and it took until Game 3 for Stolarz to have his first bad goal allowed this series. It's one he probably should have tracked better, one fire at the top of the left face-off dot on a 3-on-2 rush. He'd go on to deny Drake Baffers on another 3-on-2 rush, that one fire in the high slot. Nonetheless, he outdueled Linus Ullmark for the first straight game for his 11th consecutive win, but we don't know that yet. The top 2 forward lines on the Leafs are hounding the Tkachuk and Shane Pinto lines. I also mentioned about face-off wins. Again, Matthews won 65% of his draws, and Toronto won 32 of 51 overall. Ottawa was getting killed at the face-off circle, and that would be their undoing in overtime when Matthews won a draw back to Simon Benoit, who gets his Corey Cross moment 79 seconds into OT. Quick slapper. Matthews and Knies both at the slot to screen. Game over. 24 years ago, Cross was the Leafs' 6th defenseman who has a stay-at-home style of play. He scored an overtime winner 2-16 to Game 3 of Toronto's 4-game sweep over Ottawa in the 2001 series. Now, Benoit delivered an OT winner of his own in Game 3 of this year's iteration of the Battle of Ontario. Just 2 nights after setting up the overtime winning goal for Max Domi in Game 2. Like Cross, he's the 6th defenseman on the team, but how they end up in Toronto was different. Cross was traded from the Lightning to the Leafs for Frederick Modin. Benoit was left untendered by the Ducks. Signed with the Leafs. Didn't make the team out of training camp, but was called up when Timothy Liljegren was injured. The hardest workers get rewarded the most, and Benoit is making the most of this opportunity with the Leafs. He's in the first year of a 3-year extension after leading them in hits. He's not an offensive defenseman, but he's big, mean, and physical. He made 2 key shot blocks in the waning minutes of the third, was active on the rush, entering the offensive zone with ease, and has emerged with the Leafs' 6th defenseman to their hero in the first round. If you're a Sens fan, you're wondering, what do we do now? Yeah, it's disheartening, as Travis Green noticed. Not surprising that he's frustrated. These last 2 games followed a similar pattern. Sens found a tying goal only to lose early in overtime. It's easy to look at this series going different if there were looks that ended up differently. The bouncer going in favor of Toronto. Ullmark isn't finding crucial saves, and they have trouble against the Leafs' white-hot power play. Yet Sanderson believes that we're right there. For one, they're more hardworking, more mature, 4th in the league in hits, at the top half at limiting scoring chances, high danger chances, expected goals at 5-on-5, and at the 10th best points percentage after 2 periods. Yet there are holes to address, whether they pull a miracle or not. Finishing was a huge issue for them, and the same problem was plaguing them in the playoffs. They're scoring on just 7% of their shots compared to the 18.5% for the Leafs. If they get swept, it's obvious what needs to be fixed. Here's a question that I have to ask. Are the Golden Knights in trouble now? They initially looked like the heavy favorites to beat the Wild in the first round, and they looked the part in the dominating victory in Game 1. But ever since, it's been all Minnesota, and they're not backing down. In fact, they're swinging back at Vegas. In a postseason that's driven by the favorites taking series leads, the Wild are taking on the heavy favorites. Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy are once again destroying worlds like they did in the first half of the season, and both combined for 3 goals in the game, and each of them have 4 goals so far in the series. Kaprizov's first was him skating around the horn, through the right, and into the top, firing blocker side through traffic at the front of the goal on a power play. He doubles down another power play goal in the second period, beating the buzzer, going inside position on Noah Hannafin at the left post, and deflecting Ryan Hartman's shot from the right boards. Not to mention Boldy chased down Hannafin, stole the puck behind Aiden Hill's crease, and got in front of him to beat him short side. Hill was pulled at the second intermission after allowing 4 goals on 21 shots, and he's having himself a nightmare for postseason. Dang, after what happened the last 2 years? And I didn't even mention him giving the puck away to Justin Brazeau, which ensues a tic-tac-toe passing play from him to Yakov Trenin to Marco Rossi. Red Lamp. The only bright spots for Vegas were Alex Petrangelo's slapper from a run for the right circle during a 4-on-4, and a 2-on-1 shorthanded break where William Karlsson finds Riley Smith cutting inside in the third. Nothing went right for Vegas. Goaltending was an issue, even for a rare appearance from Akira Schmid. Vegas' power play was bageled again. 0 for 4, even for the first period being one where they racked up 24 hits, 8 of which were credited to Ivan Barbashev alone. Like Game 2, the Knights were down by 3 headed into the third. The Wild continued to remain undefeated this season when leading after 2. They're 31 for 31 in such games, including playoffs. Philip Gustafsson was brilliant, stopping 30 of 32, including one-timers from Pavel Dorofeyev and Jack Eichel, and an even bigger one on Tomas Hertl at the end of a Vegas man advantage. There were long stretches when the Knights were in control, but there was absolutely nothing to show for it. Teams need their stars to shine the biggest moments. Kaprizov and Boldy are doing exactly that, with a combined 8 goals and 5 assists for 3 games. Jack Eichel and Mark Stone both have donut holes on their stat sheets in that same span. And all this talk about bagels and donuts is making me hungry, but I can imagine these two are hungry to finish chances. Gustafsson made timely saves when under pressure continues to outplay Hill, who is still struggling to show up when it matters so far in the playoffs. The biggest asset the Knights had was the power play, but there's nothing from them at all against the 3rd worst penalty kill in the regular season. The next remark isn't meant as disrespect for the rest of the Wild, but without Kaprizov, Boldy, and Joe Eriksson Ek, the Wild will either be swept or gentlemen swept. In the time where the Freeze shared the ice at 5-on-5, the Wild had a 15-8 advantage in shot attempts, 13-4 in unblocked shot attempts, and a 9-0 lead in shots, with 77.5% of expected goal share. Unlike previous times where the Wild have led despite being outplayed, this line is not letting the Knights even get close to the puck. The Knights might have had the better shot attempts in this game, but the Wild are focused on shot quality. In the first period, Vegas made a lot of low danger chances, and the Wild killed the momentum on one power play. Quality over quantity is the best way to put it, though in hockey, Logic cannot explain how sometimes it could backfire. The Wild have been in this territory before. In their previous 2 playoff appearances in which they lost in 6 games to the Blues and Stars in 2022 and 2023, they have won just 1 game in the playoffs where they've had the series lead. Game 6 against St. Louis in 2015 in the West quarterfinals. Minnesota has to be more cautious because momentum could slip, but they moved past Matt Dumba. They moved Ryan Hartman to the bottom 9, and they're not having a third pairing with either John Merrill or John Klingberg. On episode 27 of Sports Symposium, I said that this series was not going to end early. It's not going to end a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. No, the Blues are going to make life tough for the Jets. They didn't just make life tough for them, they made a living hell throughout the course of Game 3. Connor Hellebuyck's recent playoff performances brought up some concerns, and they have been doubled down again with a stinker at Enterprise Center. Near the end of the third period, the Gold Chime rang 7 times. The Blues put up a 7-burger on Winnipeg. 3 goals in each of the first and second periods. Hellebuyck got chased out the net. 1 more goal for good measure on Eric Comrie. If there are any remaining doubters about the Blues and if they deserve to be in the playoffs, just play Gloria like it's 2019 all over again. Late game goals were a strength that turned to a weakness in the 2 games at Winnipeg. St. Louis didn't have to worry about it this time around because the game was already over after Pavel Buchnevich got his first career playoff hat-trick and Cam Fowler netted a goal and 4 assists for a 5-point night. Robert Thomas didn't score, but he put up 4 assists himself. It only took 48 seconds for Buchnevich to get a backdoor tap in after Fowler shot for the left wall hit Jimmy Snuggerud at the front. Then Bucci tapped the Thomas pass from the left circle on the power play to make it 2-0. The hat-trick goal didn't come until the second period, and Hellebuyck was way out of the net and fell right into a trap set by Thomas, so I find Bucci in the front to complete the hat-trick. If you're a goaltender, start Pavel Buchnevich on your fantasy hockey because I need to win my fantasy hockey matches. Fantasy hockey season may be over, however, but both Buchnevich and Fowler are racking up hypothetical stat sheets for what their fantasy scores would be if fantasy hockey were to account for playoffs. Thomas found Fowler cutting down the middle and beat Hellebuyck with a quickie, glove side. 2 more, one from Jordan Kyrou on a 5-on-3 power play marker with Braden Shed setting a screen, and the other from Alexei Toropchenko redirecting Jake Neighbors' shot for his first career playoff goal. Winnipeg can debate whether or not Cole Perfetti actually beat Jordan Binnington or not. That was too close to call, and Binnington robs him on the power play 1-timer. David Gustafsson can fire a quick shot from the slot all alone. Neil Pionk can fire 1-timer at the top of the left circle. Colton Parayko will laugh it off a 1-timer of his own from the edge of the left circle. The 5 points from Fowler are a Blues franchise record for the most by defenseman in a playoff game, and the 8th in league history to get 5 or more in a playoff game. Entering this game, Buchnevich had just 1 goal in 22 playoff games before tonight. These 2 line changes caught me by surprise for how little I noticed them. Dylan DeMello was ill and was a late scratch, being replaced by Colin Miller. And Ryan Stewart, despite playing all 82 games of the regular season, was a healthy scratch in favor of Alexander Texier as Jim Montgomery went with 12 forwards and 6 defensemen like he did with Game 1. What the Blues figured out is Hellebuyck's biggest weakness. While he's the best goaltender in the league, he goes from Dominik Hasek in the regular season to Andrei Pavelec in the playoffs. He melts down in the postseason like it's an annual tradition. It's one thing to be a regular season brick wall, but this is Hellebuyck's second bad game of the series. The Blues let Game 1 slip from their grasp. Hellebuyck wasn't even that good in that game. Even for the scoreline, the Blues should have fired more shots on goal. Yes, they were limited just 3 shots on goal in the third, but they took advantage on the power play, and they limited the Jets' chances. Getting pucks to the net will exploit Hellebuyck. The blueprint is there for St. Louis, but they have to be consistent following this blueprint. Keep this game plan up, but they should know the Jets should adjust to them. Things may look a little more physical next game.